Democrats think crazy-eyed Cory Booker is their guy. Kanye West is a car crash in human form we really need to look away from. And yet another passenger stripped down in the airport terminal. It's time for my losers of the week. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment on the Tomi Lahren is Fearless YouTube page at Tomi Lahren is Fearless. The show starts now. We, maybe by the grace of God, haven't heard a whole lot from or about Senator Spartacus Cory Booker in the last few years. He hasn't passed a bill or done really anything of note since he had his Spartacus moment and failed 2020 presidential campaign. But who knew all it would take to become the new de facto leader of the failing Democrat Party would be yapping aimlessly for 25 hours on the Senate floor?
But are they energized in running in a circle and fighting with each other? Or are they energized in a direction?
They're going crazy right now. And they're going crazy because they don't see leadership in their own party. And I want to emphasize what Cory Booker did over the last 24 hours may have changed the course of political history. I watched a lot of it. I listened to words. I listened to phrases, how he presents himself. Did he criticize Donald Trump? Of course he did. But he struck the kind of tone that grassroots Democrats are looking for. And what I saw over the last 25 hours absolutely blew me away.
First of all, never trust anyone with that haircut, but change the course of political history? These hacks act like he went to war. He literally talked about his hatred of Trump and Musk for 25 hours and 5 minutes. That's all it takes to impress Democrats? Hell, there are drugged out homeless people sitting outside of gas stations that do that all day, every day. Democrats, y'all are cheap dates if that's all it takes for you. But hey, far be it for us to stand in your way. If Spartacus Booker is your guy, I love that for you. Speaking of false idols, my next loser this week was once hailed, and sadly by some still is, as a conservative icon simply because he once wore a mega hat on SNL. He wasn't a conservative then. He's definitely not one now, but he is out of his damn mind. Kanye West just keeps scraping the moral bucket bottom, and it's really disturbing.
It feels like you still have a little bit of animosity there.
I'm evil.
You don't think about like his family and other people that love him?
I am an evil person.
You don't think that?
The guy is clearly mentally unwell, and it's actually really sickening to watch. And yes, I feel horrible for Kim Kardashian, mother of his children. My God, he needs to find God and Jesus and sanity, not spotlight. But speaking of finding sanity, things at our airports are still not going well. In the last month alone, not one but two whole women have stripped down in the terminal. First, it was the lady at DFW. And now Fort Lauderdale is getting the cuckoo bird circus treatment. Watch if you dare. Is this the new normal? Grown women get upset and the reaction is to take their clothes off? I don't know what kind of air they're pumping into our airport terminals, but first it was fighting with bare knuckles and now it's fighting, well, bare. Secretary Duffy, we're going to need you to look into this. And those are my losers of the week. Joining me now is our very own OutKick writer, Bobby Burack. All right, Bobby, lots to discuss. I want to go through my losers first. Let's start at the top. All right, Cory Booker. They wanted to find their guy. Now they think they may have found their guy. It didn't take a whole lot. He just had to talk for 25 hours. And, listen, boom, boom, bam. You're the new leader of the Democrat Party, Cory. I'm not so sure that that's the guy that they want, but it might be the guy they're saddled with. What's your take?
Well, I think coming off Biden and Harris, I think just being able to talk for a long time uninterrupted is quite an accomplishment within the Democratic Party, right? It wasn't just Biden. Harris also really struggled when she was on the microphone, did an interview. She wasn't a very strong in terms of communication either. As far as Cory Booker, I think he's a very lackluster option, but it just shows you how shallow the options are within the party. I mean, Gavin Newsom, I don't know, Tommy. I think he's going to definitely run, gonna have some money behind him, but after what he did to California, I don't know that he's the guy. Gretchen Whitmer, Tim Walz, the astronaut. So this is a pretty limited option. So if they end up picking Cory Booker to be the face of the party, I think that's a major win for the Republicans.
Yeah, it sure is. You bring up a good point, though. I can't imagine Kamala talking for 25 hours. Like, what would we hear? I think it would be about the passage of time and how it passes as time does in the community in which we live. That would be really painful. Let's stick on that topic before we go through the rest of my losers. I want to talk about these new books that are coming out, really going to be coming out one after the other. All these people now, they're playing hero. Oh, listen, Joe Biden was experiencing cognitive decline, and they all knew it. And now they're starting to write books about it. What's your take on that? Do you think that it's really brave that they come out now? I personally think it's more cowardly that they're doing it now. I'd rather they just shut up.
Yeah, me too. I mean, if I enabled this guy, I would want to say, no, I didn't see any signs. Trust me, I didn't know he was going to crumble on the debate stage. But I thought Ron Klain's comments were pretty eye-opening because based on everything we had heard for 4 years, Klain was somebody who was very close to Joe Biden. I mean, they worked together for a while. He was someone who supported him. And I think him coming out pretty much opens the floodgates for everyone to say, yeah, we knew this guy was too old, not competent, couldn't speak well, and couldn't do the job. But I'm with you. I would not want my name on it because it just makes you look bad that you pretended this guy could run the country when you clearly knew he could not.
Yeah, honestly, it's a dereliction of duty by a lot of these individuals who are writing these books. But there's more in these books that are coming out, various things about the 2024 campaign, election, all of that. And we're kind of getting some insight into just how much the Democrat Party hated Kamala. And listen, I knew it. I was saying it for years. The only reason that they left Joe in as long as they did is because the other option they felt they were pigeonholed into was Kamala. And it sounds like from some of these writings in these various books about what happened, it sounds like maybe Joe Biden knew that Kamala couldn't do it. And he was reaching out to some of his other allies like, hey, maybe we should do like a primary. Well, he didn't want one because it would have replaced him. But then when he had to be pushed out, it sounds like maybe he wanted a more competitive race before Kamala was going to take over. What's your take on that? And do you think it was Joe that did her in?
I absolutely do because I think in his mind, like he would never say it. But I think if you were to give him and Jill truth serum, they didn't really want
You mean
Kamala.
truth serum like age? Like, listen, let's just let Joe talk.
Yeah, absolutely. But you go back to the 2020 primary, and we somewhat knew what Democrats thought of both he and Harris. Remember, Harris was initially the front runner. They moved off her pretty quickly for Pete Buttigieg. Then they pivoted to Liz Warren. They didn't rally behind Biden until it was down to him and Sanders. So I think the party's known for a while now that Biden and Harris were weak candidates. But again, they just don't have great options. And that goes back to Cory Booker. If Cory Booker is the answer, I'm not sure what the question is because I don't think he is. And Kamala Harris certainly wasn't either.
Yeah, also some rumblings that maybe the Obamas didn't really believe in Kamala.
Yeah.
Listen, I think they are so pissed because at the end there, when they were going out doing the speeches, and both Michelle and Barack were essentially berating black men and women for not supporting Kamala, they really threw it all in at the end to try to get her over the finish line, and it failed horribly. And I think that they also take that personally because it was a stain on them by their own making, of course. Nobody forced them to do what they did. But I think that they're probably pretty irked, and that might, again, this is just rumors and rumblings. Maybe that caused some issues in their marriage, too. I don't know. They don't seem that close. They don't seem like the Beyonce Jay-Z that we once saw. What's your take on that? If you were to read the tea leaves there, what do you think was going on behind the scenes? Just speculative, of course. We don't know. We don't know what's going on. We can speculate.
Yeah, I mean, you see Barack out at basketball games, golf courses, vacations. She's not with him. Funerals, she's not with them. She's doing this new wacky podcast where she subtly takes jabs at her husband, saying that was anxiety ridden when I got to the White House. I had to rely on my brother. Something's going on there, but I think you hit it, Tommy. These two people, Barack and Michelle Obama, are some of the most entitled, egotistical public figures that we have had in this generation. And I think they absolutely take it personally that they got up on that stage and pretty much said, you have to vote for Kamala Harris. If you're black, you absolutely have to vote for her. And the fact that she lost all 7 swing states. I think that is a stain on their influence because I think they thought, hey, if we put our muscles behind any candidate, we can get them over the finish line. That's just not true. And that raises questions. Are they in control of the party? Because they campaigned, at least during the DNC, pretty hard for Harris, and it didn't work. So going forward, I don't know if the Obama endorsement is going to be nearly as powerful as all of us thought.
Yeah, I think that they're taking a giant step back. I mean, they got enough money. I don't know why they'd want to get entangled in this mess. I think that's why they are taking a step back and just wanting to live the good life. I don't blame them, but they sure did a lot of damage to our country. Let's talk about somebody else who's another rising star in the Democrat Party. Jasmine Crockett, right? She's the gift that really just keeps on giving, and every day it's something new. And this is another great piece of sound that I just have to play for you and our audience. Let's take a listen to Jasmine in all her glory.
When I first became a public defender, I had no criminal defense experience. And I walked in and I told my boss, Charlie, I said, listen, you should hire me. He said, why? I said, because I'm black.
Oh, okay. At least she was honest, I guess. To be fair, the clip goes on, but that's kind of the gist there. You need to hire me because I'm black. She admitting she's a DEI hire there?
By definition, and I've had some issues with the way conservatives have covered DEI because I think sometimes they overuse it and it actually weakens the inherent flaw of DEI. But that clip is all we need to show when somebody's arguing that DEI is needed. All we have to do is show them that clip of Jasmine Crockett, who I think is probably the most disgusting member of all of Congress right now. I mean, what she said about black men marrying white women, making fun of Governor Greg Abbott. She's done it several times. She just seems like such a hateful, loathsome person. The fact that she's getting all this attention right now really bothers me because she's such a joke.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, I've said this so many times, my audience knows, but what really bothers me about Jasmine Crockett is, like I've told my audience, I watch a lot of Bravo. I watch a lot of Real Housewives. So when you're in the Real Housewives universe and you're trying to keep your job as a housewife, what you want to do is you want to say inflammatory things and you want to throw a lot of shade and you want to be provocative because even if you're the villain, it doesn't matter. You'll be asked back the next season because you played a role. The last thing that you want to do is be irrelevant. The last thing that you want to do is be boring. Now, that's when you're on Bravo as a Real Housewife. You're able to say really awful, really horrible things and keep your job. Unless, of course, you say things about the wrong group of people and you happen to be white or maybe, mistaken as a conservative, then you're fired from Bravo. But if you just say really awful things, you keep your job. It feels to me like Jasmine is trying to emulate that. The problem is she's a member of Congress and it's not the same thing as Bravo, but it's paying off for her because the more egregious the things that she says are, the more attention she gets. I think she's doing this because she loves the attention. And I think she also thinks that there's no chance she's going to be challenged, even though she is being challenged. I think she's not fearful of losing her position or her seat. So she's going to keep this up, and it's being rewarded. I don't see this ending anytime soon.
No, and she reminds me so much of different field, but Sunny Hostin of The View, where the only way to stick out with all those other ladies is to take it up several notches. And that's what she's doing, right? There's so many clowns within the Democratic Party. I mean, AOC, every time Tim Walz speaks, I can't believe he's a real person. But she has taken it to a level where you almost have to respond or mention what she says. It's right out of the Sunny Hostin playbook. And they are daring, I think, their supporters to say, how far can we go? I thought Jasmine Crockett's interview on The Breakfast Club was just so nasty. This idea that black men can't marry white women. I mean, what a racist statement. This is a woman who claims to be a warrior against so-called racism in America. I mean, her Sunny Hostin. You mentioned people on the Real Housewives. Attention does pay in America, and I'm with you. I don't think she's going to stop this anytime soon, because as long as she has this position, I think she is going to dare somebody to do something about it.
Yeah, I don't think there's a low that she won't achieve or attain, or at least attempt to. And that's the thing. When you feel like you've got nothing to lose and you just want to say outrageous things because you like the attention, that's really destructive. I love free speech, but I expect a little more of our members of Congress. I'll just put it that way. Let's talk about that, actually, as long as we're talking about our members of Congress and what we expect from them. I went on a rant yesterday, a tirade, really, about this whole thing and the Republicans that joined in on the new parents being able to vote by proxy or remotely. It enraged me, maybe to a level that was unhealthy, but it really upset me. And I want to know your take on it. Do you think that these new parents should be able to vote from home because they've got a baby?
No, absolutely not. And I think, look, there's this mistake in life where we want everything and think we can have everything, but unfortunately, sometimes you do have to decide if you're able to be a parent right now or pursue a career, and it seems like they're asking other people to make exceptions for them. And I'm so with you. When I first saw this, I thought there's got to be a bit more to it. It can't be this cut and dry, but when you read into it, you watch some videos and talk to people connected, it really is this simple. And I'm with you. I think this was something that was outrageous, and I don't use that word lightly because I think it's overdone. But I think, especially for the people on the Republican side that support this, I think it's somewhat offensive. And this is not the answer to the problems we have right now at all. And I watched your rant. I thought you nailed it. You mentioned passionate. I think it is a topic that should make people passionate because, again, this is our country. And just to make exceptions for this actually seems right out of the DEI playbook referenced in our last discussion.
Yeah, everybody wants to support new parents, and I totally understand it. But when you look at the entitlement complex that Congress already has, the number of days that they already get in recess, the fact that when they're in recess that they're still getting paid, and the fact that there are accommodations that are made. Listen, I understand if you're a new mom, you have to bring your baby to certain things, which this certain congresswoman from Colorado does all the time as a prop. I understand that there's accommodations that need to be made for people who are nursing, and I get that. But I want to stay home and have someone else vote for me. That's what I take an issue with. You've got to show up. If you need to leave and you need to have a babysitter or you need to be excused, that's understandable. But to say I want to stay home and have somebody else do the voting for me, pretty much your whole purpose there is to vote on the legislation that impacts the lives of millions of moms and dads out there. So the fact that you think you're a special case really irks me. And just speaking on the hypocrisy part of this for the Republicans that joined in on it, it really frustrates me too, because we saw, endless, hypocrisy when it comes to how many conservatives were just outraged that Pete Buttigieg took paternity leave. And, there's he's going to go to chest feed during the supply chain crisis as the Secretary of Transportation, rightfully so. There's a giant supply chain crisis, and Pete Buttigieg, who was newly tapped for that role, decided he was going to take a break. And he wanted to take paternity leave. And I understand, he had an infant that was on a ventilator. And, I even understand that a little more. That's a medical emergency. But conservatives to this day lap him for that. You shouldn't have taken the time off. You're chest feeding. They make jokes about it. But then that they think that the new mom should be able to vote remotely. Do they not see how ridiculous that sounds? It seems like they're just trying to dunk on Pete Buttigieg. And I don't like that. I don't have space for that.
Yeah, and I'm with you. And I saw some conservative influencers, I guess, make the case, well, if you don't support this, you're not actually conservative because you're not enabling new moms and new families. No, it has nothing to do with that. Two things can be true at once. You can support new moms and new families, but also expect your legislators to be able to show up in person and vote. So I don't buy that at all.
I don't buy it either. And it really actually bothers me too, because I mentioned it yesterday, and this is the last thing I'll say on it. But when it comes to campaign time, are you sitting home and are you not out campaigning when your job depends on it? Are you saying, listen, I'm just going to stay home, I'm not going to campaign or whatever, it's not that important? Oh, I doubt it. I'm guessing that you probably make a little time to campaign when your job depends on it and your seat depends on it. But when you think you can be cut a break and you feel so entitled, then all of a sudden now everybody's going to make accommodations for you. I don't like that. I don't like it one bit. I don't like the entitlement complex coming from the 535 people that represent all 335 million of us. I don't have time for it. Let's talk about this too. Let's talk about the football star Austin Metcalf in Texas, in Frisco, stabbed at a track meet over what I guess is a dispute over seats, was stabbed to death and died in his twin brother's arms. That, to me, I guess it shouldn't shock us anymore, but I find this particularly shocking. This is not happening in, the inner city of Chicago. This is not Inglewood. This is not Compton. This is Frisco. What's going on here, Bobby?
Well, and I'm glad that you're highlighting it because of the colors of the two people involved. The person who stabbed him, or allegedly, is black. The person who died, unfortunately, is white. It's not going to be a big mainstream news story like it would be if the roles were reversed. But what also irks me on this one is there's this new documentary called Adolescence on Netflix that pretty much makes the case that young boys are using knives and guns and resorting to violence because of masculinity. That's not the case at all. What's happening here, at least there's no proof of that. Young males in this country, like under 18, they seem lost, depressed, and that is making them act up. And I think it's one of the biggest epidemics we have in Western civilization is these young males who feel lost, and now they're becoming very dangerous. And you look at a case like this, this is an issue that the country should rally behind and try to solve. But it's probably going to be brushed under the rug because it doesn't have a lot of political gain for the media. It doesn't fit the right race characteristics. But I think it's a big deal. I did some research on this topic. Knife crimes involving young men all across the West are up astronomically, and that's a problem. There's something causing that, and we need to look into what caused this 17-year-old allegedly to pull out his knife and repeatedly stab this football star to death. It's horrific and it's appalling, and something needs to change.
I think it has really everything to do with parenting. And I tweeted it out, and some people disagree with me, and that's fine. But honestly, if you have a minor and your minor child does, one of these horrific acts of violence, I think that the parents, I don't know if you charge them, but I think maybe you charge them with negligence. I think you do. We're talking about parents being charged with negligence for leaving their kids here or doing this or that. I think that if your child, who you still have control over because they're under the age of 18, is going out and doing things like this, I think in some way you need to be held liable for that, because it comes down to parenting. That is your child. That is a minor child. That is not an adult. And I don't know where the parents are. I'd like to know, but this is learned from somewhere. And this is a lack of parenting, or it's poor parenting, poor guidance. And there's a reason. You're not just born with this rage inside of you where you just want to stab someone because you're angry over a seat in high school. Like, this comes from somewhere. And and you know what? It's not just young men. We see rage in young women. And it's maybe, more in the they them community. We just got the Nashville information. We're never going to get the full story on that, but we just got finally some more information about the trans shooter here in Nashville and the rage inside of her. There's a lot of rage in young people. Where are they learning it?
Yeah, it's a great point. So last weekend in Chicago, in an area called Streeterville, area I'm very familiar with, very nice area, a group of 15 and 16-year-olds were out at 2, 3, 4 a.m. Fighting, and 2 of the teenagers got stabbed. You're right. Where are the parents? Why are your 15 and 16-year-old children out at 4 a.m. on the streets of Chicago?
Yeah. It's just
baffling.
Parents need to be present. And, we've seen these videos too. It happened in Las Vegas, I believe, last year, a year and a half ago, with these teens that weren't barely teens in their car that hit that former police chief on his bike. We had another incident that happened recently, something similar. Oh, hey, just tap him, whatever, killed somebody. And a lot of this is for social media attention and clout too. It's like, I think social media is also to play in a lot of this because people get their validation there. Their parents aren't teaching them real self-confidence and self-worth. So their likes and their reactions that they get on social media is what they're looking to achieve and attain. And it's really troubling to me. I hope we can figure out how to make parenting great again. That would be another, great start, I think. As we wrap up, I do want to talk about the airport situation, because speaking of people going crazy, Airports are always just a mixed bag, right? Like you never know what you're going to see. You never know what you're going to get. You never know who's going to cough on you. You never know who's going to start fighting. It's more prevalent in some places than others. But I mean, why are people choosing the airport to go crazy?
Yeah, not just crazy, naked. I mean, that's the trend here, right? Seems like in 2 weeks we've had two women go to the airport strip naked, and that's just some of the things that are going on. I I don't spend as much time at airports that I used to. Thank the Lord. Very usually not a very pleasant experience with delays. But I don't know. Are we just are people sitting at the airport and just losing their mind because their flights are delayed? They're not in control. But I don't know. I mean, I saw that video last week. The woman stripped completely naked and started, I don't know, acting like a werewolf, and the police came at her. What causes this? Drugs? I don't know. I mean, they
Drugs.
must come in high, I'm guessing, but wild situation that I can't make sense of.
Yeah, and people are doing it in the air too. They're just going crazy. And
Yeah.
people are having
Uh,
these hallucinations when they're on these drugs and they think that they're being
yeah.
attacked or something. Like, again,
Mhm.
I think people think it's funny to take these hallucinogenics or whatever, but it's people are going crazy. And the last place that you want someone to go crazy is in the air. And probably the dumbest place to go crazy is in an airport because
Yeah.
that's kind of a secure location. So chances are people are going to record you, and chances are you're going to be, or you should be at least, on a threat list if you're there taking your clothes off. And I don't know why you're thinking you're getting into a fight or dispute with someone, and your thing is like, I'm going to take my clothes off. Again,
Yeah.
I'm not sure the situation. I'm not sure how that would help any situation. I'm not sure you want to fight like that.
Uh,
But here we are. It's a weird time to be alive, Bobby. I'm hoping that it gets better. But I really appreciate you coming in clutch for me today. Thank you so much for joining me. Have a fantastic weekend, and I'll talk to you very soon.
you too, Tommy. Appreciate it.
All right, folks, that does it for this Thursday episode of Tomi Lahren is Fearless. I also want to say for those of you in the Midwest, those of you in the South, those of you who are being impacted by these catastrophic storms, severe weather, flooding, tornadoes, we had nonstop sirens here in Middle Tennessee last night. We're expecting more over the weekend. Please, please, please be safe. Please check on your neighbors, especially your elderly neighbors. And please, for the love of God, if you have a pet, please bring your pet somewhere safe. Bring it inside with you. Take care of these animals. Don't just leave them outside. If you're a pet parent, take it seriously. Take care of your neighbors, take care of each other, and be safe. Never underestimate the weather. I will see you right back here tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern. Please like and subscribe to the YouTube channel at Tomi Lahren is Fearless. From Nashville, God bless and take care. Hey, thanks for watching. If you want more of my hottest takes, must-see conversations, and of course, my final thoughts, click here and make sure you subscribe here so you never miss a beat. I'll be here every weekday, and I hope you'll join me.